Good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
Morning.
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. So excited to be here this lovely morning. iHealthScreen. We are doing a Q&A chat. I am going to give everybody maybe 1 or 2 minutes for everybody around the world to, hop in and, wait until we can dive right in. I see we're already sharing the pitch deck. Where's everybody tuning in from right now? I am in Southern California. How about you, Alauddin?
New York.
New York?
I'm in Connecticut.
I'm in Connecticut as well, but I'm on the shoreline. Kate's up in lovely Northwest Connecticut.
Yes.
Nice. So everybody's East Coast, West Coast. So it's good morning for me, I guess good afternoon for everybody else.
Right.
Nice. Awesome. So I see I'm getting some participants hopping in, which is awesome. Just give it maybe one or 2 more minutes. All right, awesome. So as mentioned, thank you everybody for joining us at today's webinar. My name is Jeanette Cornish. I'm with Digital Niche Agency, and we are so excited today to be hosting a Q&A chat with the leadership team at iHealthScreen. So we have CFO Thomas Gerson, who has successfully led 100 million plus for 3 companies previously through his CFO position. We also have CMO Kate Adams, who was the former director at Quest, a multi-billion-dollar company. And last but not least, we have CEO Alauddin Bhuiyan, an inventor, innovator, and computer scientist. He's been working in the retinal imaging and image-based disease screening area for more than 15 years. Also, before we get started, just a few disclosures. I wanted to inform everyone that there are a few things that we cannot discuss during this webinar. So things pertaining to certain financials, funds, or projections cannot be discussed just due to compliance reasons. So for any of these questions, you can definitely visit the iHealthScreen raise page on Start Engine. And I will actually go ahead and drop that link in the chat now. Feel free to check it out, learn more. You can also ask direct questions there, which will be great. So just another reminder, this is a Q&A webinar, and that section will be towards the end. So you can definitely hold your questions until then, and we will address them. Until then, feel free to enjoy the presentation and drop any questions in the chat box. So with all that said, I will hand it over to you, Alauddin, from iHealthScreen.
Thank you, Janet. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Dr. Alauddin Bhuiyan, founder and CEO of iHealthScreen, which actually formed in 2015. So this work, I have been doing in iHealthScreen started exactly, if we say, almost 18 years, from my PhD. I did my PhD from Melbourne University, computer science, and it was mostly focusing on the retinal imaging and how we can optimize the processing of, retinal vascular features, mostly computer science problem. And following my PhD, I joined at Center for Eye Research Australia, where the real, medical problems, showed up as a light bulb in my head. In one, session in a seminar, we saw some of the images. When I asked a question why these patients are that bad shape, and the answer was they are the best ophthalmologists in Australia, right? From Melbourne University, Department of Ophthalmology and Center for Eye Research Australia. They said, well, this is the patients we really get, that's the stage when they showed up in front of us. And that time, I started writing a paper, which was focusing on how we can do the screening in the primary care settings. And it was actually the first publications, which was published in the Progress in Retinal Eye Research. And it was the #1 journal in ophthalmology. And it was published in early 2013. And following that, I moved to America with as a visiting scholar at Harvard. And I started the company after that in 2015. And I was also a faculty member at that time at New York University when I got the NIH fundings. And I decided to quit my faculty positions and working full time, for my company. Making this impact for early diagnosis, detection, and prevention of this retinal disease as well as systemic diseases. So if I start what we are doing here at iHealthScreen, we have a market-ready product which uses AI, artificial intelligence, and color retinal image. And we are focusing on retinal disease as well as systemic disease. So the retinal disease is, let me just make the screen larger, sorry. Let me just pull this up a little bit. Yeah, so the retinal diseases are diabetic retinopathy, age-related macular degeneration, and glaucoma. And systemic disease, the stroke prediction and heart attack prediction. So our focus is early detection in the primary care settings and save lives, save blindness and disabilities. So if you look into the images here, you can see that in the top left, the healthy vision, a healthy individual can see. And the top right is the late stage of age-related macular degeneration. The central vision is gone. The patient cannot read, write, or drive properly. And if you say the second row, you can see left is the diabetic retinopathy patient's vision, patches of blind spots everywhere. And on the right image is the glaucoma, the surroundings, blind spots from the surroundings, and then it slowly going towards the center. And we all know about the heart attack and stroke. So what is the problem here? These diseases are preventable. And this can be prevented by early diagnosis. For example, now, most of the insurance covers for screening of diabetic retinopathy, meaning that the primary care physician referred them to the ophthalmologist, and ophthalmologist will be looking into their retina, detect their, any stage of this disease. The problem is the patient, they don't visit the ophthalmologist. In some areas, National Eye Institute research showed that 50% of the patients, they don't go. What is the reason, right? What are the real reasons, why they are not visiting? That one also, found in the NIH research. And the reasons are, hey, I don't have any problem. Why should I be visiting? I have to travel. I have to take off from work, many reasons, right? No priority. And consequently, we see the projection is number of blindness due to age-related macular degeneration is more than double, 2.1 million in 2020, it will be 5.4 million in 2050. This is the NIH, you can see this in the NIH website. And similarly for diabetic retinopathy, 6 million, 11.4 million. And we have the similar number for glaucoma. And there's a common say that half of the glaucoma patients are undiagnosed. So in our talk, we're really focusing on the, the eye diseases, because this is now in the market with the CE approvals. And we submitted one FDA application, 510(k) application for macular degeneration. The other one is the diabetic retinopathy, which we are submitting pretty soon in like maybe next week, So like the problem is the patients are not visiting, right? So our focus is to do this screening in the primary care setting so that in one visit, we can do and complete the screening at the same time. And if we can find the problem, like if any stage of this disease, exists, there will be like higher level of compliance. The patient will be definitely compliant to the doctor, to the primary care physician, and they'll be really rushing to the ophthalmologist, start treatment, start preventative measures. So meaning that what we are offering really a highly accessible, tools, super efficient, like less than 5 minutes time, we can finish this. And it's reimbursable. There is a reimbursement code here, 92229 in USA. And we also approved in Australia, UAE, and Europe. Australia and Abu Dhabi also are has the reimbursement code. And there's a large growing need, by 2030, we are having almost more than 100 million people for screening. So how does it work? We use the retinal camera, and both eyes images will be done. And then these images will be uploaded to the software, our AI software, and there will be an automated report. I'd like to show you a small video, like how the software works.
iHealthScreen's iPredict is a HIPAA-compliant, AI-powered screening system that is effective, affordable, and accessible. iPredict can be used to screen millions of people whose eyesight could be saved with early intervention. This is how iPredict works. First, retinal images of both eyes are captured by an automated fundus camera. Next, iPredict uploads these images to a secure cloud-based service that screens them for risk factors. Finally, a report is generated and sent to the doctor, who can refer the patient to a specialist for treatment if warranted.
Screenings can now occur as part of a routine annual checkup without the need for a specialist visit. iPredict is more than 95% accurate for AMD and DR screening. The scans require less than 5 minutes to complete and can be done in primary care settings without special training.
So this is about iPredict, how does it work? Give you some sense. So here's the accuracy. For the AMD screening, our overall accuracy is about 96%, and given that is on the external data set. And on the prospective trial also, our accuracy is above 90%. For AMD, we have the prediction model, I didn't mention that. This prediction model, what it does, if a person detected with the AMD, let's say early stage or intermediate stage, is this patient going to progress into the late stage, which is the severe stage, and from which stage the patient will be seeing the blind spots. So up to early and intermediate, the patient don't know. But if the patient has late stage, they would know, their blind spots will be shows up. So we have this late AMD prediction model. We are the first company which got the patent. And I'm happy to mention here that we have signed an NDA with one of the top drug companies, which has, let's say, $50 billion, market shares for the AMD treatment. We also have the diabetic retinopathy screening. You can see the accuracy is above 97%, along with the sensitivity and specificity with the similar or higher accuracy. The sensitivity we achieved almost 99% in the retrospective data sets. So in the published models, this is the best. And it was actually published in the Diabetes Care, #1 journal in diabetes. Our prospective trial results also coming, and then it is consistently above 92% to around 94%, sensitivity and specificity respectively. We have the glaucoma screening tool. In the external data sets, we achieved 94%, 94.14%, accuracy. We have recently submitted a patent in this area, which actually consider multiple features and combine these features, one of the unique, way to address this problem and achieving this higher accuracy. And other great traction for us is the stroke prediction model, which got NIH fundings almost 500,000 in phase 1. And overall accuracy, we achieved 82.4%. And on the same subject, on the same patient group, the existing stroke prediction model is the Framingham. And Framingham score achieved around 70%. So our accuracy is significantly higher than the Framingham score. Similarly, for heart attack also, we achieved over 83%, and the Framingham and CHAT score for heart attack prediction also having like around 72% accuracy on the same subjects. So like in short, like our systemic disease, like stroke and heart attack prediction also like coming out, like we have submitted provisional patents, and we are planning for the prospective trial, and then we'll be submitting full patents in the near future. So in short, like we have one full patent, which is the first, like, US patent in the AMD screening and prediction. And we have submitted one, like, patent on the glaucoma. And we have submitted provisional patents for stroke and heart disease and heart attack, predictions. And also we have PCT application submitted for blood vessel analysis. And in terms of the FDA, like we submitted one 510K on the macular degeneration screening. We will be submitting the diabetic retinopathy screening shortly. Previously, we had meetings with FDA and find out all the requirements, such as precision study, prospective trial, also human factor, study and all others. We have competitors, yes. INAC and digital diagnostics are the prime, like also some others, but I think we are in the frontier with our general screening plus, our patent in the late macular degeneration prediction. And we are also in the verge of completion of 3-year prospective trial, which was funded by NIH, 1.8 million. And we are also using a camera, which is confocal imaging, meaning that imageability will be very high in the primary care, settings. And it can also take the images in the presence of cataracts. And we also, aim to screen AMD DR, glaucoma, including stroke, and heart attack, which is myocardial infarction, meaning that with the multiple indications, we will be overcoming the competitions. So in terms of, in summary, if we are concluding our accomplishments, we have iPredict, which has a trademark, and iPredict has multiple indications like diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, glaucoma, stroke, and heart attack prediction. All are implemented, and 2 of them are in the process of FDA clearance. And iPredict also cleared almost half of the world, like Europe, Australia. We are also registering in UK with the C certification. It's still straightforward for UK and Canada. We are also approved in Australia, UAE, and most of the Asian countries. And we have currently also customers, in UAE, and we are signing a contract with one of the largest, hospital system in Australia with our, device. I think I already mentioned that we are the first C certified, tool which does simultaneously diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, and the glaucoma screening. And we have the state-of-the-art stroke prediction system and also the cardiovascular prediction system. I think these are also unique, the way we are addressing and predicting and having the high accuracy. So as I mentioned, the first prediction model for late macular degeneration, and also we have in UAE, we have 500,000 dirham to setting up, and we are having multiple customers. We should be receiving our revenue pretty soon. So the pilot is done, and our customers in the process of signing the contract, which is already approved by the insurance companies, the reimbursement code. So it should be pretty soon. And I think I covered like most of the points here, this one. So how does the market look like? So in terms of the diabetic retinopathy and macular degeneration alone, like it's $9.4 billion, dollars. If we consider $50 per patient, like on average. And from each clinic, if we consider 40% revenue from the reimbursement, and if 5 days, let's say 50 weeks per year and 10 patients estimated, like each clinic can return us the revenue around $125,000. So with our customers, the primary care physicians, dietitians, geriatricians, most of the PCPs, let's say. And if we consider the cardiovascular system, that market size is 7.35 billions. If we're considering 50 plus subjects for the stroke and heart attack, prediction is around 147 million patients. If we consider also the obese, and hypertensive and the smoking, population. So in total, it's 147 million. And on average, if we multiply this with the $50, of 40% of $50. So similarly, we have around a couple of $1 billion market in UAE and Middle East, and also Australia, $1.9 billion markets. So in terms of the financial projection, we are anticipating by 2025, we'll be in the positive revenue, given that we have multiple indications that have been cleared, and so we are cleared in Australia, Europe, and Asian and Europe, Middle Eastern countries. And there is a comparable in our valuation. We have IDX, which is the digital diagnostics. Before the FDA clearance of their diabetic retinopathy screening, they raised around $22 million. And after FDA, immediately they raised 33, and then following that, they raised 75 million. So total, they raised around $120 million. We are in the pre-series A. From start in June, we are planning to raise 1 million. And then we also have 2 LOIs, one from one Angel and one BCs. In total, in this pre-series A, we are looking for 5 million, in this year, up to Q4. And following that, we are in Series A, we are planning to raise 50 to 80 million, which will be determined, in the later stage, how much we really need. And we have the comparables here. I can show you the results in terms of, let's say, the IDX accuracy for diabetic retinopathy, and our accuracy, you can see the specificity. We are 99.4% on the same subjects, when IDX, got 87%. Meaning that our false positive is very low. So our valuation is, let's say, around 25 million based on the comparables. That's how the other companies raised pre-FDA. And with the 2 FDA clearance, that's the next 24 months, we are expecting it would be 10 times. We are projecting this type of valuation. We have a great team here. I already introduced myself, and we have also Tom and Kate, our CFO and CMO. Tom had a huge experience with the startups, and he successfully raised 100 million plus from his previous, 3 companies where he was a CFO. And also Kate has huge experience in medical device companies, especially she was a former marketing director at Quest Diagnostics, a multi-billion-dollar market. Our commercial lead also, Lori Langzak, she also had a huge experience, in this medical device market. And she also led like in a company for branding almost $3 billion, So yeah, we have a great scientific advisory team and legal team. They are all from the like top scientists and top legal and regulatory team, I would say. Lina is our FDA consultant who successfully led multiple devices for the care. I would say in terms of the funding use, very briefly, I would like to use the funding for market penetration. If we need any sort of trial for these two FDA clearance, so we'll be using the fund for that one also. And of course, this will be preparing us for the next round raising, as well as would be keep working on the stroke and heart attack prediction. So this is our Gantt chart, how we are exploring or advancing towards the years. I will be happy to share this with you. If you're interested, send me an email. I'm going to stop here, and before taking questions, I will ask Tom to say a few words, and then I'll be asking Kate also say a few words in their own role.
Just to follow up a bit in terms of what we plan to do. Most of the current rounds funds of the $5 million that we hope to raise will be used for commercialization activity. So really it's a commercialization play, sales and marketing, advertising, promotion. Well more than 50% of the funds we're raising will be dedicated toward that. About another quarter or so would be used for R&D, regulatory clinical studies, preparing for the next series of iPredict tests to be submitted for clearance and to be approved, that we can then market. And a small amount will be used for general administrative funds activities. In terms of the markets, Alauddin talked about the markets, and we do have a global reach, but the real focus is on the US. As we look out over our 5-year revenue projections, well more than half the revenue will be coming from the US, and that'll be followed by Australia, Europe, and the Middle East. So that's sort of a summary of what we plan to use the funds for, and the results coming from that in terms of revenue. And as Alauddin mentioned, the $5 million that we hope to raise be sufficient for the next year and a half or so. And then by the following year, even with that funding, we would expect to get to cash flow break even. But we probably will want to raise a Series A round just for market expansion and scalability purposes. So that's a quick overview of our financial plans and situation, and happy to answer any questions in the Q&A.
Kate, a few words on the marketing.
Yes, absolutely. I think some of the most important things to remember about the products and this company is that there are several reasons why the products will be an exciting addition to primary care practices in the US. The tests can help patients get valuable screening without a second visit, appropriately managing their risk for vision-threatening diseases. Patients find that specialist visits are increasingly hard to get. iHealthScreen tests can focus those limited resources on the patients who need it the most. From the doctor's perspective, these tests enable compliance with HEDIS screening guidelines with limited effort. And it's important to note that IHS's DR, its diabetic retinopathy products, will launch with US reimbursement already in place. And I can say from my experience in the diagnostics world, this is pretty rare for a diagnostic and overcomes a crucial obstacle, especially a diagnostic that's as innovative and effective as we expect iHealthScreen's products to be. We're currently pursuing agreements with large health systems in the US, as well as medical device distributors, to reach the optimal number of primary care practices. And as I said, we really believe the value proposition for both the patient and the physician and the physician's practices is very strong, and are encouraged by initial response to those conversations.
Okay, so I think we can take some questions, like, and I believe like Janet will be reading the questions for
Yes.
us.
Yes, definitely. So thank you so much for that presentation. I feel like, yes, so many great gems all around, from market opportunity to really the inception and how we got here. So thank you for that. But yes, the floor is now open for Q&A. I see some questions are already being dropped in, so we'll just jump right in. The first one is, what makes iHealthScreen's first product, iPredict TM, market ready?
So we started with the macular degeneration screening. It was funded by NIH. And we believe that we are the first company which focused on this, this retinal disease, one of the prime reasons for blindness in the developed countries. And following these, we have added the diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma. And given that our expertise, we collaborated with the top, researchers, clinicians, retinal specialists, along with our expertise in machine learning and medical imaging. We came up with one of the best models. And other than one screening tool, we are coming with the two screening tools, diabetic retinopathy and age-related macular degeneration. And we will be the first company in the world which is submitting two indications simultaneously, and hopefully will be cleared very soon this year.
Yes, that'd be wonderful. Oh,
go ahead. I would just add that one of the important extensions of that rigorous scientific development has been the thought to how it will actually be used in the clinic. So iHealthScreen also has a very user-friendly software interface. Alauddin has done a great deal of work in making sure he understands the strengths and compatibility of the cameras, and that the ease of use in a primary care office really enables any staff member in the office. It does not require a physician to oversee the site of the testing. And so it really is kind of beginning to end designed with the end users in mind. And that's one of the things that makes it very market ready.
Amazing.
I would like to add with Kate, she just reminded me, we literally need 4 clicks from login to report generation. And that's how easy it is, for the end users. Thank you, Kate.
Yes, always making it the easier, the better, right? So that's awesome. Awesome to hear. The next question, how does your AI-driven health screening software leverage artificial intelligence to improve accuracy and efficiency in the screening process?
2 ways. One is how efficient and how accurate we can be with the small data sets. So this was one of the focus in our research, and we accomplished this with the transfer learning and one of the top models in the deep machine learning. And the other one is for external validation, in the diverse data sets, in the training. So this is the second focus for us, and that's how we accomplished and the best model, we would say, in this area.
All right, great. As far as your strategies for scalability and expansion, how do you see that into other sectors of healthcare, or is that something that you guys have discussed?
So if you could repeat the question again.
So what are your strategies for scalability and expansion into different healthcare sectors?
Yes. Kate, would you like to take this question?
Sure. I mean, I think really what we're looking at is focusing on this as a tool for the primary care audiences. But primary care practitioners can be reached in a lot of different places. So at the moment, we are starting with the largest scale that we can in terms of large health systems, and then also working with existing medical distributors to make sure that we can capture some of the practices that are not necessarily in a health system, but are have a very good reach in terms of patients. We're looking to really increase the efficiency of delivery of this kind of testing, and so that's really the focus. In terms of other sectors, Alauddin mentioned that we believe we have good relationships with pharma companies that are developing drugs. And I think that as vision products come into clinical development, iHealthScreen's products will be excellent for use in screening patients for potential clinical trial participation. That isn't something that we've had direct conversations about yet, but I see that coming in the future.
Mm-hmm. Great, awesome. The next question, how does your software integrate with existing healthcare systems and electronic health records?
Yeah, I can take this question. So we can give the API. Let's say if we can work with Epic, to push our report, we can give them our API. They can add our API into their system. And this could be a direct plugin, it could be direct use other than separating the data sets, databases.
All right, great. So this one is regarding errors. So how does your software handle false positives or false negatives in the screening process? And what steps have been taken to minimize these errors?
So let's say this is a very tricky question, right? In terms of a small percentage of errors, we have to deal with this. Our best position is if a patient is, let's say, moderate or near severe, we hardly miss those patients. We miss some of the mild patients, and given that this is the early screening, in the next year, potentially we'll be getting those subjects. So that's how we can minimize the risk in terms of missing someone who can be converted pretty soon in the severe stage.
Mm-hmm.
So and also we tend to take someone as a false, let's say, positive, then the false negative. So meaning that we send someone as a referral to the ophthalmologist. It could be false, but it's safe. That's how we define our sensitivity and specificity.
All right, thank you for that. This next one is, what is the cost structure and pricing model for iPredict for that screening software? And then are there different tier options or, available based on the needs of that primary care office?
Yes.
It's a pretty straightforward model. It's really on a per patient basis. And you'll note in our slide that covered the market, we talked about a certain number of patients per day. That's really a practice, a number of patients per practice, not per doctor. So that's one of the reasons that we are looking at larger practices, because we don't want this to be an impediment. We don't want price to be an impediment to getting the maximum number of people screened. So we've taken a close look at the economics, again, just for both for the patient and for the doctor.
Awesome. So with that, kind of talking about patients and the size of that, what is the global market for this disease screening? I feel like you guys might have touched on it, but the global market size.
Yeah, if we look into, let's say, in general, let's say, $25 billion is the American market. If we consider these three retinal diseases like diabetic retinopathy, macular degeneration, and glaucoma, and if we also add our prediction tools for late macular degeneration, prediction models for stroke and heart attack. So I didn't mention here that we studied 107, physicians and the decision makers of hospitals and clinics about our stroke prediction model. And we had a vast majority of those population were very eager to take such tool, basically for improving the patient compliance. Right now we are having so many heart attack and stroke because of the non-compliance, most of the time. So let's say 30% of this stroke is preventable, by taking the proper, initiatives, medication or lifestyles and others. So if we look into this, this stroke and heart attack prediction model, if $25 billion is the US market, and the rule of thumb is world market is around 3 times of US market, is totally $75 billion market. And also remember, we are working on hypertensive retinopathy and also papilledema, which is a precursor for brain tumor. So there will be other, diseases. Someone asked, right, what would be the other, sectors where we can focus. Kate already touched that, we are working with the drug companies. Given that, let's say there is a drug which you can implement in the early stage of late macular degeneration, and our prediction model can identify the subjects who will be progressing into the late macular degeneration in 1 year or 2 year time period, meaning that this drug can be implemented, 6 months or 3 months before that, disease progressed. So this needs to be done, in terms of the clinical trial, it has to be established, if it is viable. But this late macular degeneration prediction has a huge potential, in these other sectors. Similarly, for stroke and heart attack prediction also can be used in in the tertiary, in the specialist, heart specialist or neurologist, those different areas.
All right, thank you. This next question is asking about ongoing support. So how does your company provide ongoing support, training, and updates for the screening software? And then is there a dedicated support team available for any troubleshooting and assistance?
Yes, of course. We have a protocol for post-market surveillance. So basically, you can call or you can email. And those are we are talking about the markets where we have real customers right now. And we have a policy that within 48 hours, we should be resolving the issues. And remember, we have been in the clinic, let's say from 2017. Basically, once the product is in the beta phase, we started testing, so this, in terms of the customer complaints, it's only a few, hey, I can't log in, or my OTP is not coming out. Something maybe they are plugin issues, so we can literally solve them by over the phone or by direct visiting.
Nice. And I feel like, Kate, you may have touched on this talking about different pharma companies, but do you have any information about your company's partnerships or collaborations with certain healthcare providers or organizations that will implement your screening software?
I think it would be good for Alauddin to talk about the relationships we already have in non-US markets. I can tell you that in the US markets, we have a number of conversations, but we don't have any signed deals yet, largely because the FDA approval has not come through, so that most of those will not be complete until after that date.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just to add with Kate, let's say we are discussing with, let's say Walmart, right? And we had also discussion with Alexion with our late macular degeneration prediction tool. And similarly, we had informal discussion, not any solid, contract or anything, but some of the largest, chains, in the future, we may be able to make deals once we are approved.
Okay, great. So can you talk about the partnerships that you do have maybe overseas that, you can speak about?
Yeah, so we have Brazil, which has 40 hospitals. It's a $1 billion hospital chain, which is in UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. And we are also in the process of signing a contract with Mediclinic, which is South African hospital chain, which also has multiple hospitals in UAE. So and we also have a number of clinics. So this just started recently, last few months. And as I mentioned, we are in the process of generating revenue, from those clinics.
Awesome. That sounds wonderful.
And also, in Australia, Austin Health is one of the top providers in Australia. So we already sent the contract, to Austin Health, which is under the Australian Diabetic Research Council.
That sounds great. Lots of traction. So wonderful. This one is, what competitive advantages does your screening software offer compared to other solutions available in the market, such as iNOOC that can bill under that same CPT code?
Yes, I think our greatest traction is we are simultaneously screening macular degeneration and diabetic retinopathy. Besides that, our late AMD prediction model, we are way advanced than the other competitors. We already in the process of completion of our 3-year trial. Also remember that the camera we are using is, in terms of the pricing, it's a moderate price, not like our competitors, iNOOC, Canon, or Digital Diagnostics, Topcon, they are way higher than the DRS Plus. But DRS Plus is the recent, camera, which is confocal imaging. I think I mentioned this, which has high imageability rate, meaning that in some publications, they use 99% of patients can be imaged, imaging can be done with the DRS Plus camera. So meaning that our business model, it will be cheaper for implementing using our camera, as well as in the primary care, we'll be doing higher patients, higher number of patients. So the physician will be more interested, on our device.
Awesome. So I'm going to maybe ask 1 or 2 more questions, and then I can turn it back to you guys for any last remarks. So this next one is, what is the next step in iHealthScreen's roadmap for product development and market expansion? Are there any upcoming features or enhancements that potential investors should be aware of?
Yes, I think another great news is we already started the process for the CE certification of our stroke and heart attack prediction. And our stroke prediction model is already peer reviewed, and we presented the model and the results in the Society for Brain Mapping. If let's say we are cleared in Europe and in other countries, we should be coming and doing the prospective trial in US also on this model. So this is our future products. And of course, we'll be doing more work. There is a grant in the pipeline for running the prospective trial of our late AMD prediction model. We submitted a grant, 2.2 million, for our AMD prediction. And also for performing the clinical trials of our stroke prediction, we submitted another grant. So a lot of activities are happening in terms of the development area also.
Great. All right, so these are the last questions I'm going to ask. Why is this the right time for the company? And what are the key factors that make iHealthScreen an attractive investment opportunity?
Yes, I think I'll add, and maybe Kate and Tom can also add. So iHealthScreen in some of these, areas is the, frontier. Specifically, age-related macular degeneration, which has higher effect, higher number of blindness, higher number of expenses, in terms of, I think I have some slides here I can show you. Then other diseases like diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma. We finished the prospective trial. We submitted the FDA 510K. I'm just checking like the dollars here. So if you see macular degeneration direct cost, $10 billion, this is from NIH, and diabetic retinopathy, $5 billion. And we are really focusing on both, but we are the first company which submitted the macular degeneration. And also we already finished our documentation for diabetic retinopathy screening, we are submitting this shortly. And also our glaucoma screening tool, which is ready, and our stroke and heart attack prediction are also very well positioned to go to the market, along with C certification and go to FDA, with possible prospective trials. So with our diverse team, in terms of highly expertise, I have hundreds of publications, and majority of them in this area, in the retinal imaging. And also I interviewed more than 100 physicians, and my business model, the camera I chose is based on those interviews. Primary care, they're busy, they don't have time for multiple effort, and maybe the physician will be looking into this one in a minute, but automatic reporting, this can be done by the healthcare worker and then put it in front of the physician. So I think the areas we are focusing on has a huge traction, is future of the healthcare, and this is really a great time to join. And others may already have FDA approved, but we are also very close. And given that the market 99% is still open, so it's a great time to enter into this market, and this is the future of the healthcare technologies. So yeah.
Alauddin, I would just add that from an investment point of view, I think iHealthScreen is very much de-risked. From a technical point of view, obviously the clinical studies, the accuracy, the specificity of the tests are well known and quite strong. From a regulatory point of view, we have a clearance in many markets, and the FDA's initial comments to our AMD submission has been very positive, and no reason not to think it won't be the same on DR. And thirdly, from a reimbursement point of view, it's de-risked. We already have a CPT code here in the US. So when you add those three things together for a healthcare technology diagnostic company to have those three key areas pretty well de-risked, I think it makes it a really exciting investment for people to consider. And obviously the size of the markets that you just talked about are quite large.
It's a great point. Thank you.
Great. Kate, any last words for you on why you think this is a great investment opportunity?
Well, I just think it's always exciting when you can bring an innovation forward that can help so many people in a very short period of time for a very low price. And where, as both Alauddin and Tom have pointed out, many of the standard market obstacles are removed.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for that. This will conclude our webinar for today. I just want to thank everyone for joining. Thank you to the entire iHealthScreen leadership team, Alauddin, Kate, Thomas, for the great presentation. So I'm also going to drop the Start Engine campaign again in the chat. You guys, please take a look. We are currently raising funds, and any other questions that you may have, you can find that there on their Start Engine page. But yes, that concludes our webinar for today. I hope everybody has a great day, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Thanks, Jeanette.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.